Welcome to the book of Judges. After Joshua dies, the air over the land feels unfinished, like a conquest paused mid-stride. The tribes of Israel stand at the edge of their inheritance and ask who should go up first to fight the remaining enemies. Judah rises, battles flare across hills and valleys, and victories come and cities fall. Gates burn, and defeated kings taste the same cruelty they once served to others. Yet even in triumph there is a shadow. Iron chariots still roll in the low country, strongholds still stand, and many pockets of Canaanite life remain like thorns caught in cloth. Soon an angel's voice confronts the people at a place that becomes known for tears. The message is sharp. The covenant has not failed, but obedience has. Altars that should have been torn down still stand. Compromises that seemed practical have become snares. The people weep, sacrifices are offered, and the moment feels like a turning point, yet it becomes a pattern instead. A new generation grows up that does not remember the Lord's works the way their fathers did. And the drift begins. Israel turns aside, following the gods of the surrounding peoples. The consequence arrives like a hard season: raiders, oppression, fear, and the sense that the land itself has become hostile. Then, when distress becomes unbearable, the cries and prayers rise again to heaven. And again, mercy answers. God raises up judges who rescue the people. The land receives peace from heaven. And after the judge dies, the people slide back into sin and idol worship, often worshipping deeper than before. The book moves like a wheel turning: rebellion, bondage, crying out, deliverance, rest. Then rebellion again. The first deliverer steps forward almost quietly. Othniel, a warrior tested in earlier days, pulls Israel out of oppression and restores calm to the land. After him comes Ehud, left-handed and underestimated, carrying a hidden blade into the presence of a powerful enemy king. In a private chamber, the deed is done swift, shocking, and decisive. Ehud escapes into the hills, blows the trumpet, and Israel rises like a sudden storm. The enemy's strength collapses, and the land breathes again. Deborah appears next, not as a sword-swinging hero at first glance, but as a steady flame-wise. Bold and unafraid, she sits beneath a palm tree, and people come to her for judgment. As if that shade is a court of truth in a restless time, she summons Barak and delivers the Lord's command. The enemy general, Sisera, will be drawn to battle, and the Lord will go before them. Barak hesitates. He wants Deborah beside him. She agrees, but warns that the final honor will fall to a woman. The battlefield gathers at Mount Tabor, and the enemy approaches with intimidating force chariots, soldiers, steel, and confidence. Then the tide turns. The army of Sisera breaks, and Sisera himself flees on foot, desperate and alone. He stumbles into the tent of Yael, seeking safety, and she offers him milk and a place to rest. His eyelids grow heavy. The world narrows to the quiet of canvas and breath, and in that stillness, judgment falls. The prophecy is fulfilled. Deborah and Barak sing afterward, and their song feels like thunder made into poetry, praise for God's deliverance, and a warning against those who refuse to rise when righteousness calls. Yet peace does not last. Israel turns again. This time the Midianites sweep in like locusts devouring harvests, stripping the land, leaving families hungry and hiding. People burrow into caves and dens, peering out at fields they can't keep. In that bleakness, a man named Gideon threshes wheat in a winter press working in the wrong place because fear has pushed him into secrecy. An angel addresses him with a strange title, Mighty Man of Valor. Gideon looks round like the words must belong to someone else. If God is with them, he asks, why does this misery remain? Gideon's story is full of trembling faith becoming steady. He pulls down an altar to bowl under cover of night. He asks for signs not once, but twice the dew on the fleece, then the dryness, like a hesitant heart pleading for certainty. God answers with patience, but also with a plan that sounds like madness. Gideon's army is too big. Too many men would claim the victory as their own. So the crowd is thinned first by fear, then by the simple act of how men drink water from a stream until only 300 remain. Night wraps the valley. 300 men stand on the ridges holding trumpets and clay pitchers with torches hidden inside. At Gideon's signal, clay shatters, fire erupts, trumpets blast, and the darkness fills with noise and flame. Confusion seizes the enemy camp. Swords flash in panic. Midian collapses into chaos, and what looked like weakness becomes victory. Gideon is offered kingship afterward, but he refuses the crown, at least in words, saying the Lord should rule. Yet even Gideon's legacy is complicated. An ephod is made, and it becomes a snare. The wheel turns again. Then comes Abimelech, one of Gideon's sons, who does not rescue Israel, but wounds it. He reaches for power with ambition and blood. He persuades a city to back him, then kills his brothers, nearly all of them on one stone, an act so cold it feels like the land itself should recoil. One brother escapes, Jotham, who speaks from a mountain with a parable like a blade, trees searching for a king, noble trees refusing, and a bramble accepting promising shade but threatening fire. Abimelech's reign burns exactly like that bramble. Betrayal rises, violence answers violence, and at last, during a siege, a woman drops a millstone from a tower. It crushes Abimelech's skull. Even then, he is desperate to control the story, begging his armor-bearer to finish him so no one will say he died by a woman's hand. But the truth remains. His fire consumes him. Time passes, and other judges rise, some briefly mentioned, like flickers of light in dark years. Then oppression returns, this time from the Ammonites. Into this crisis steps Jephthah, an outcast warrior with the posture of someone forged by rejection. Israel's leaders come to him when they are desperate, and he agrees to lead, but not without making them speak plainly. If he delivers them, he will not be cast aside again. Jephthah tries diplomacy first, sending messages, reminding the enemy of history, pleading for reason. But war comes anyway. Jephthah fights, and victory is given. Yet tragedy follows him home. In a moment that chills the heart, Jephthah makes a rash vow, and the cost of careless words becomes personal and devastating. Judges does not hide the ache. Even deliverance can be followed by sorrow when wisdom is missing. And then the story turns toward Samson, a figure as wild as a storm. His birth is foretold. his life set apart from the womb. Strength rests on him like a mantle, but so does restlessness. He is drawn toward Philistine territory, toward forbidden desire, toward edges he should not live on. He tears a young lion apart with his bare hands as if the beast were cloth. Later he finds honey in the carcass of the lion, sweetness in death, and it becomes a riddle at a wedding feast. If you can't tell me the answer, you must give me 30 linen garments and 30 sets of clothes. Tell us your riddle. They said, let's hear it. Out of the eater, something to eat. Out of the strong, something sweet. For 3 days they could not give the answer. The riddle is clever, but it also mirrors Samson himself. Strength wrapped around trouble. Sweetness tangled with decay. Samson's victories are explosive and personal. When betrayed, he burns fields with foxes and firebrands, turning farmland into flame. He strikes down enemies with the jawbone of a donkey, standing alone on a heap of fallen men. Breath heaving, eyes fierce, yet for all his power, he keeps reaching for the same trap: intimacy without faithfulness, desire without restraint. Delilah enters like a soft voice beside a blade. She presses him again and again for the secret of his strength. Samson plays games with her, lies to her, treats the danger like entertainment. But persistence wears down even a strong man's resolve. At last he speaks the truth, and when sleep takes him, his hair is cut. Strength leaves him. He wakes thinking it will be like before, only to find himself helpless. The Philistines seize him, blind him, bind him, and make him grind in prison like an animal. The mighty man becomes a spectacle, but hair grows again, and with it, something else returns: strength or humility, perhaps, or at least desperation turned into prayer. In a crowded temple, pillars rise like trees holding up a forest of stone. Samson is brought out to entertain the crowd. He asks to be placed where he can feel the supports. Then he calls on the Lord one last time. His hands press into the pillars. His shoulders strain. The building groans. Stone shifts. The temple collapses in a roar of dust and screams. Samson dies, and many die with him. But his final act is a violent deliverance and a tragic end. After Samson, the book grows darker, not because enemies are stronger, but because Israel's own soul is unraveling. A man named Micah builds a private shrine, makes idols, hires a wandering Levite to be his personal priest, as if holiness can be purchased like a service. A tribe looking for territory steals Micah's idols and takes his priest. Religion becomes loot. Then comes a story so brutal it feels like a warning carved into the pages. A Levite and his concubine travel, find shelter in a Benjaminite city, and wickedness erupts like poison. The aftermath tears the nation open. Tribes gather, war ignites, and brother fights brother. The conflict is fierce, relentless, and nearly annihilates the tribe of Benjamin. When the blood finally settles, grief remains because victory tastes like loss when family is shattered. And the book ends with a line that echoes like a final, heavy bell. There was no king in Israel. Everyone did what was right in his own eyes. Not freedom, but chaos. Not courage, but compromise. Judges leaves the listener with the feeling of a land needing more than heroes, needing a faithful heart, steady leadership, and a deeper rescue than one strong arm at a time. That is Judges, a mirror of human drifting, a record of mercy repeated, and a warning that when God is treated as optional, even a promised land can feel like a wilderness. If you liked this video, why not share it with your church group and family? Hit that bell icon, subscribe, and watch more. Thanks for diving into the book of Judges with me during our time with God. May God be with you.